So you're home. You just
Barely.
signed, just barely. Yeah, not for much
Seriously.
longer. So you signed with MVP, and so what have you been doing in the off season?
Off season for me starts really about middle October, I guess is when the season's over, and then like for the next couple of weeks, you're really trying to catch your breath because it's been like uh, 8 months on the road, just like constantly on the road. I mean, it takes it from you, especially when it's like your 15th time doing it. It's like, whoo. But last year was especially difficult. So last year the off season was like I couldn't wait for it soon. I mean, it couldn't get there soon enough. We had so many setbacks last year. We had, loss of a dog. We got embezzled by the Mexican police for 15K at the beginning of the year.
What?
Dude, I know, right? Crazy sounds. Well, yeah, we
Oh
had
my
a rental.
gosh.
So, yeah, it's a long story, but basically, there was like a little minor accident in Mexico,
Mhm.
and took the car to the. We had a rental car. Took the car to the rental car office, showed them the damage. Like trying to just be upfront and forward with it. I bought my car insurance through the rental insurance through the site that through Priceline,
Yeah.
and they didn't recognize that. And so they were like, you didn't get insurance through us, so you have to pay us now, and then they'll reimburse you. And I was like, well, that sounds fine, but like, how much do I owe you? Well, they didn't send a claims adjuster. The guy just texted his boss, and then his boss texted back, you owe, 225,000 pesos, which is like just under $15,000. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's obviously you're just trying to take advantage of a white guy here. Like this is like you just see me and you think that I'm some rich white guy, and it's not the case. I don't have that money.
Right.
And then but I was like, you need to send an adjuster, and they wouldn't send an adjuster. It's not how we do it. And I'm like, well, how? What other way is there to do it? How could I send this? How could I send this money, this receipt, to my insurance and get reimbursed? Like, it's not going to happen. And they're like, it's not our problem. And then before I knew it, two police officers showed up. And I was like, what are they here for? They're like, they're here in case you don't pay. And I'm like, so, I tried calling every single resource I had. My wife tried calling the embassy, and they're just like, you rent cars on your own risk down there. So like that, we can't help. And I was just like, what the hell?
That sounds like the start of a bad movie. Holy
It was,
cow.
it was the start of a bad movie. It was
Oh my
uh,
God.
I mean, basically the 2024 season had like this kind of dark cloud over it for a good portion of the season. It was a tough year. Well, your question is about off season, what I've been doing during the off season.
Well,
Well,
let's hit the break right there for just a
all right,
second because
all
the
right.
whole purpose of Beyond the Basket is for people going through it to kind of see how other people have gone through it, have in different aspects of the game, but that's also life. And so, what did you do to kind of get through the cloud and come out on the other side? And maybe you're not completely out because I know there was a lot of stuff, some that you haven't said,
Yeah,
that did happen.
yeah. Oh, well, yeah, sure. Very recently as well. Well, Craig, I'm a very, very optimistic guy. I'm a very silver lining type guy. And so when life throws these obstacles my way, it, the initial shock value of that specific incident was like, I mean, I was like shell shocked for a while. I initially didn't, like I can't pay this, but then I gave them my debit card. They, I got a text message. I would have given them my credit card, and in hindsight, I maybe should have given them my credit card, had it declined, and been like, "Look, I tried my best, but I can't. I can charge it $5,000. Is that okay?" And then like, because anyways, I think that they might have accepted that, but who knows now. But I gave them my debit card. I got a text message from my bank that said, "Did you mean to put this amount on your card?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I get home. As soon as I get home, I called the bank and dispute the charges.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, good news. We don't even see the charge on your account at all. And I was like, wait, does that mean that we can
What?
cancel my card and they won't be able to get the money? And the guy's like, I don't know how they could possibly get money from your account unless they like took your account details down. And I'm like, they didn't. They just swiped my card. He's like, well, we'll cancel your card and this could save you that money.
Mm.
Um, we did that. The very next day, the money came through. And I was like, what? Ugh. So, and then I called the bank back and they're like, well, this doesn't fall under any, uh, whatever they like, there's like different prerequisites for like reasons that you can dispute a claim. And I'm like, well, like I was in fear of my life and safety. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. Like the police officers took the handcuffs out of their holster and started twirling them as they walked towards me. I was like, okay, fine, I'll pay. Like, that's not a situation where you're just like, hey, let's be reasonable here. You're like, okay, I've heard horror stories in Mexico. Like I'm in a
Mhm.
foreign land. I don't know what the rules are here. So I'll go ahead and pay and we'll deal with this
Mhm.
later. So anyhow, when I got home, I thought that I could dispute the charge. Turns out I couldn't. Next step is, okay, wow. Um, Jules and I had just moved into a new house, but we hadn't officially paid it off. And that was our plan all along, is that the interest rates were too high. So we weren't going to get a mortgage, a standard mortgage. We were going to pay it off. The house that Jules bought 10 years ago was a really good investment in a neighborhood that blew up. And so like she sold the house, or we sold the house for 3 times what she bought it for.
Nice.
And yeah, which was great. We took that money and we took all the money that I had savings and we put all of it into buying the house.
Mhm.
And that meant that like our rainy day fund was down to like very, very little, you know. Um, with this Mexico incident, our rainy day fund was down to like zilch. Um, and so I called on Innova and I asked for them to give me a salary advance so that we could do the house thing and that way I could, save the little tiny money I had saved that we had saved for just living on. Um, and they agreed. They were very helpful. And it's the only reason why I was able to get through last year. Because I don't know honestly what I would have done. Like our plans would have been completely changed. And so in that, in when I go through something that's, traumatic or I don't know, like kind of like a life story, I do look at it like okay, wow, like once I get over the shock and awe of this, and once I'm able to like financially recover from the setback, then this will just be another story like all my other stories, and that's kind of nice in a way. Like I can look at it like, this is something that happened, um, and it's not like something that happened to me. It's something that just helped shape my experience of the world, and it gave me perspective that, all the places that I've always been either like a welcomed guest as a disc golfer,
Mhm.
um, like somebody that people have opened their doors to, give me the best experience possible when I'm in a new land.
Mhm.
This trip to Mexico was the opposite. We, we're just people, which is great in a way because we were very, very anonymous. Um, and we were just there on vacation
Mhm.
and trying to enjoy last year's Valentine's, and, and then this thing happens and then, suddenly you're left with like, okay, um, I'm sorry, I got lost there, Craig. Give me a second.
It's okay, bro. Take your time. You're getting emotional. I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, well, no, it's not so much emotional. I'm just trying to like really recall like what was happening and like how I shaped it in my head and how I recovered. Because the honest answer is I don't think I don't think I would have what I have deep down in terms of the ability to recover without just disc golf being there and having the community that I've had I'm very, very lucky. When I go places for disc golf, when I go places really for anything, there's always disc golfers in all the places I go, whether it's
Mhm.
vacation or not. Like there's people there, and I get showered with a lot of love, and
Mhm.
that that is a very, very fortunate thing for me. And so when I am down in the dumps, I know that things are going to be better, and I know that nothing is permanent, and so that allows me to focus on that if I'm like really, really sad about something. But I draw on the community so much for strength. And like if I'm feeling especially raw and vulnerable about something, like in 2019 when I had my dental operation and I worked on my teeth,
Yes. Hmm.
you
I
know,
remember.
I leaned on the community for support. And what I ended up doing, the unintended consequence of me leaning on the community for support was that I actually became this pillar of strength for people who were also in a vulnerable situation, who also needed some sort of encouragement and I thought I was just encouraging people to maybe uh, go get their dental work stuff checked out. But people were, going and getting their eczema cleared. People told me that they stopped smoking. People told me
Yep.
that they went to the doctor to check out things that they've been meaning to check out. And I was like, blew my mind and made me cry every single time. But
Yep.
that that vulnerability that I shared was actually the greatest sense of strength that I've ever felt in my life. I felt like I actually was serving a purpose way more important than entertainment, and that was huge. And so, in situations like these, like Mexico, for instance, I lean on the community and I lean on disc golf to be there for me, to give me perspective, I guess, on the world and my place in it. And when you feel like you have a community like I have, um, then you can kind of look past the things that are happening to you, and they become just details that it's like we're good. We'll get past this. And eventually we did. But also being on tour, like you don't have a choice. Like my schedule is so tight that you don't have time to sit there and wallow. Like you got a tournament in 3 days, and then you got to
Right.
travel the next day, and you got commentary every night, and you got to practice around, and you might have putting games, and
Hmm.
then you might have one other social engagement. So I mean, just staying busy is, as anyone knows who's ever been through a tough breakup or anything else, like just being busy is the best remedy for getting over things like that. So that
Yeah.
helped too.
Yeah, it is. And the way you talked about the disc golf community is the way I think most people would talk about family. And it's really great that in the disc golf community, unlike a lot of sports, it doesn't matter. You might have seen somebody for a while, or you're in this city, so you know this person. It's like your family, and you're like back together. It's like, hey, how you been? Big hug, and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I, I, uh, I, I loved disc golf really early on because it was the first time I'd ever hung out with people that weren't my age, that weren't my height, honestly, because I was a big basketball player. And so like my whole crew was like 6'4" was kind of like the average height, and there was like a couple of shorties that were 6'2", which is pretty tall, you know?
Like me, 6'2".
Yeah, yeah, you're a shorty, man. You're running
I'm
point
short.
guard for us. Yeah, you're definitely playing point guard or shooting guard for our basketball team. Um, but yeah, that was like, so everyone like had the same interests, afterwards we'd go do similar things. And then, I played disc golf, and then all of a sudden, like I'm meeting like like people from every single walk of life, every
Mhm.
age, and like the way they immediately accepted me. I'm a 20-year-old. When I first got into the scene in Charlotte, I was 20,
Yeah.
and yeah, here's this guy who's like a day trader. And then here's this other dude who's like practically homeless. And this other guy right here is a dad of, 3 kids and
Mhm.
lives in a subdivision. And like, it was like all of us were on a card, and I'm like, and just like hanging out and having a great time. And they're,
Mhm.
ranging from like late 50s to like, mid 30s to 45-year-old, like we're all in like different parts of our life, and here we are all enjoying this time
Mhm.
without judgment. And that happened every single round. There's some new person that just fills that, and so that was so cool for me. I finally
Yeah.
got to like know people that weren't just people. Like I wasn't in this echo chamber of like similar minded beliefs. And that
Mhm.
really opened my mind to like different walks of life and different things that
Mhm.
people go through and struggle with. And really amazing in that way for a young person like myself.
Yeah, it really is. I don't even know where to go from there. I mean, we could cut it off and be like, "Oh my gosh," but but we'll
Well,
we'll
well, well. Let me take it to the next step, okay? Because
okay.
July 30th rolls around, and that actually is coincidentally my sister's birthday. But that was the day that we got back from we got back from Europe. We were there for I forget 4 weeks. I think we were there for 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. We get back from Europe, and that was when Jackson died. And that was honestly like the $15,000 in Mexico was like that was a feeling of hopelessness. That wasn't like a like sadness that was like, oh, my 15,000, like yeah, that hurt us financially, but like that was just like a story of like, man, well, sometimes there's just nothing you can do, and that sucks. And felt very little. I felt very powerless in that moment. But that's it. Like other than that, like just a financial setback, like whatever. There'll be more money.
Yes,
Jack, come back home and we got to put Jackson down. Like the day we get back. When we
that's
left,
heartbreaking.
we left and he was healthy, or so we thought. He had a lot of things going on that we didn't know, and the vets didn't know. Like we were taking him to the vets and be like, "Hey man, he's been throwing up a lot lately. Like what's going on?" And they're like, "Well, we don't see anything." And there were like some really expensive tests that we could have run. We're like, "Well, we'll just let Jackson show us if he needs tests, like he seems fine. He's got a lot of energy." And we come back and he's like completely gone. Like doesn't react to us being in front of his face. Like he's always the first one at the door. He's jumping into our arms, and here he is. He's just completely gone. And so we run him to the vet, and we run tests, and then the next morning we literally put him down. And so
Oh,
that right there that was when my season ended. That was the end of July. I still had all of August, all of September, and a couple weeks in October. And there's a lot of like really big events that became
mhm.
immediately like so unimportant to me. And man, I think I may have cashed once or twice the remainder of the season because I was out of it, dude. I was completely checked out. And
Understandably so.
yeah, and it was just a long season in general. And like
Yeah, a long freaking year. Holy cow.
just and we we bought this home. We bought Jules's childhood home, and we wanted to be there, and we couldn't because we were on the road. And like I love being on the road, but like I wanted to like experience my new home. I wanted to like sleep in my own bed. Um, and anyhow, come home, and this has got a good ending eventually. I promise.
Yeah.
Still grieving in October, and well, really the thing that I think was the biggest catalyst for change mentally and dealing with the grieving process and all of it was as simple as a music festival. It really was. We went to, well, for the last 4 years, Jules has gone, and for the last 3 years, I've gone to this festival in Swanee, Florida called Halloween. The Spirit of the Swanee is this beautiful, like anyone who goes there, man, if you've spent time there, whether it's a campground or they have like several different music festivals there, but if you've ever been there, most people agree that this is a very magical place. There's something about the grounds. It's very, very healing. We got there and we usually show up in a pretty big crew. So we like block off like an entire section of parking and we've got like at least 25 to 30 of us and like mostly all disc golfers or
Yeah.
friends of disc golfers, and they just become part of this family. And we were just taken away by Halloween once again. And the family atmosphere was so strong and so special, and it was a place where you could really feel taken care of by every other person at the camp. And not like anyone really needed that, but like physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually, all those kind of things. Like everyone has different needs,
Hmm.
and it just felt like this 1 week of listening to music and just dancing away your problems was so impactful. Like, and I've done it the last, you know, 2 years before that. That was my third consecutive one. And
Hmm.
each one had different significance. But this one for me, we were going through a lot of unchecked trauma.
Yeah.
And, it was time to let it all go. And I feel like we really did. And when I came home, there was just this like rawness in the air of like we just got on the other side of something that was really like open wounds had been like we started to take care of them. We started to
Hmm.
patch up the wounds, and it was ready to, I don't want to say move on, but like when I thought of Jackson, it was no longer like in this, we had been, I don't know, it didn't destroy me,
Yeah.
Uh,
I
and I
understand.
started,
Been there.
and yeah, right. Anyone who's owned a very special dog would experience that.
Hmm.
But like it was like, you know, grieving and all that, they say everyone takes different time, and, Jules's father passed away before we had ever met. And so I think that was 8 years ago now. And like, she still has times when she just will randomly cry about it. And it's like, you never know when it's going to happen. And so like, probably the rest of her life, at one moment, she'll just randomly think about her father, Joe, and just, it'll, you know, strike a chord. And so, I was kind of ready for that moment when like maybe I could get myself together. And Halloween was so healing that I think that was the moment. And there was this connection to dragonflies that had happened after Jackson passed away. And this
Okay.
dragonfly became this element, this symbol of he was still here with us. And when we were there, we'd already kind of shared the story of how like dragonflies just kept getting like up in my face right after he passed away. And when we were in Spirit of the Swanee dancing, there was just like 5 or 6 dragonflies that circled over Jules and I's head while we were dancing, and they're just like there with us, and all of our friends were
Yeah.
like, "Whoa!" They're pointing up at him, and like we were just like just sitting there and just like kind of staring back at him, just being like, "Man, this is really special. This is what we needed."